All right, guys, we're going to teach you tonight. What we're hearing a lot in the marketplace is people are missing on properties. It's a fast property market. All across Australia, rentals are hard to get, sometimes missing them. What do I say? What do I do? Sales properties are hard. People are missing them. What do they say? What do they do? We're going to teach you the hacks. Stay tuned. Chandelier.
Mr. Novak, good evening. Novak Evening News. I like the intro, by the way. Good
Thank you.
job. Rentals and sales. People have struggled lately in the last couple of months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months since this whole pandemic began. But even prior to that, so any good tips and tricks from the master himself? What do we see on the ground? How can we make things easier for people trying to secure a property to buy, a rental property? Mr.
Both.
Novak, both. Let's see what we can do. Hopefully there's a couple of tips that we can offer people out there. Just as some random quick fire things that you can add to your arsenal that should help you in the process.
Yeah, look, we went around the teams today, so we've got almost 40, 50 people at Novak, and we'll ask the question went around, what do you find a really good negotiator for securing a rental property, or a really good negotiator for securing a sales property says, and what actions do they use and do? And we sort of tried to transport it all into one small session for you with some really quick hacks.
Yep. So look, I'll flick away. We've got a couple of different tips that we've jotted down. We'll see if this works. We had a little bit of green screen problem. Oh, it's coming off. Mark, choosing an animal lawyer. It looks fancy, doesn't it?
It looks fancy. So what happened here is James used a green texter on a green sheet of paper, which now thinks it's the green screen. So hack one. Hack one is what?
Choosing an animal lawyer, having a lawyer that is ready on standby to review contracts, do what they need you to do in a heartbeat. You don't want to be waiting around for 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, just to get some of these basic jobs done, particularly if the time pressure is pending. What else can a lawyer do to just facilitate that?
So Thursday was a great example. We had a property that needed to be sold El Pronto. Lady said, my lawyer's out of town. Have you got someone local? Put our prospective purchaser onto an animal lawyer who just not only understood the commercial sense of law and equity and all that stuff, but also understood like this was a good deal, and he had to act fast for her in circumstances which weren't particularly normal. Anyway, my point is, a good lawyer just has that magic where they just get shit done.
Yeah. It's like the opposite of chewing the fat, isn't it? You get, rather than spending time aside to do this, you just get it done straight away. And there are some great lawyers on the Northern Beaches that can help you with that. If you need a good lawyer, we have a couple that we can surely put their names forward for you. Number 2, deal with the facts. It's quite easy for people to, all of a sudden, there's a picture in their mind. They're looking at something. They're having a conversation with the agent, having a conversation with whoever it is on their side. And then all of a sudden, there are random curveballs being thrown at you as an agent that you're just thinking, well, there's no relevance to this. So dealing with the facts at all times, you just keep things easy for yourself. It's like that keep it simple, sweetheart. Make it easy for the agent, make it easy for yourself. What other things can you do?
And I think, look, and where a lot of this came from is when we were talking to the team members about putting this segment together for tonight, people were saying that buyers often don't believe them, that there is another prospective buyer, there is not a prospective buyer, so much so that Michael Silich was saying he had it happen to him where he was told there was another buyer, and he's like, I just sort of just took it off face value because I'm thinking, like, that amount of money, am I going to lose the property? No. So our point is, even if you're, in doubt, not sure, just deal with those facts and don't, deal with what is there in front of you. And if the other agent says there's another offer, there is. And if the other agent says this is where you've got to be in price, it's a yes or it's a no. The whole speculation thing can just end and don't let it eat you alive. Just deal with the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 3, justify your offer. There's a lot more things you can do than just adding comparables in. But as a buyer, if you're putting an offer in and the agent comes back to you saying, it's on the guide, it's below the guide, back it up, have some evidence behind you. So it makes you look like you're not just trying to play the low ball card. You're trying to do it based on what you believe is fact at the time. Not many people do that. And there's a lot of people that do come in, rightly so, with their tactics and their strategy of how they're going to negotiate, start low, finish where you're comfortable. If you do that, I think it sort of isolates a lot of the potential negotiate power that you have.
Hey, I've got a really good one that's not on this, that we haven't put down for the segment that I just thought of.
Yeah.
Start a WhatsApp group with your favorite agent.
Yeah.
So if you've got an agent that you love, that you really get along with, that you've met at open houses, on the telephone, whatever, not open houses, by appointments, whatever, start a little WhatsApp group with you, your partner, and your agent about stuff you're looking at to buy, and your agent will love you. Name the WhatsApp group your price range, and you'll always be the WhatsApp group.
It's a good point. We're in WhatsApp groups with all of our clients,
sellers.
Whatever it is. Yeah, all of our sellers, whether that's immediate sellers, whether that's pipeline people that are in the future that are looking to come on, because we can communicate with them, we can stay in touch. Hadn't thought about it from a reversal perspective, looking at it from a buyer's advocate perspective. That's going to really keep you fresh in the top of their mind at all times. That's a really good one.
Yep. They'll put in the sales reports, what the person bought it for, what their opinion is, which is massive. Is it a good building?
Yeah. All right. Remember that the agent's working for the vendor. Quite often, I think people in negotiations, they see you as the person that's negotiating with them rather than you being the mediator of the negotiations. And it leaves you in a bit of a standstill again, because there's almost like, if it's not going the right way for either party, or particularly for the offer maker, again, dig themselves into a little bit of a hole. They get maybe some further emotions are included into the mix that shouldn't be there in the first place. The agent's trying to mediate the negotiation, but equally try and get the best price for the vendor. It's quite easy to sort of forget that when you're in the midst of it, when you are getting emotionally connected to the scenario. Luke just says bye. Anything else to add to that one, Mark, on not forgetting to that the agent represents the vendor?
Yeah, I think that, and you know what, this always happens with a buyer missing out on a property, and I think that, they're like, shit, I wish you told me, and at the end of the day, you just can't, that you got to remember which side the bread's buttered on, and that agent's job is to create competition and to find prospective purchasers that are out there and rally them against you. So at the end of the day, it's, if you just keep in your front of your mind that, they're not either, sure, they're not the enemy, but at the end of the day, they are working for the people that are selling the property, which we call a vendor. And, you could get hurt because you could miss out on the property, but the idea of the agent is to make it as transparent, as honest, as clean, as respectful transaction as negotiation as possible. But, just keep that one principle in the front of your mind because it's super important.
Answer your phone, be snappy. Our job is all about communicating at all times, at all hours, as often as possible to our vendors, to the purchasers, giving everyone an equal opportunity. When the buyer starts to go quiet, or when there's, and this is a really good point I actually picked up from Glenn in the office, Glenn in all of his years of experience, that when you notice a change in whether it's tonality or frequency of messages or whatever it might be, something's probably a little bit off. We can sense that from the buyer's perspective. It probably doesn't happen as much from the agent's perspective, from the buyer to the agent. But if you're not being snappy, you're going to miss these little opportunities. And sometimes there's a hell of a lot more urgency around the timing than you believe. Because again, it comes back to some of these other points. They might not believe that there's another buyer in the fray. There might be another offer maker that's been made apparent, but they just sort of think it's being used as leverage. You need to be snappy all the time. You need to be in constant communication. It's not done until it's done and it's signed and it's unconditional. Until then, it's on the market.
So as a buyer, answer your bloody phone. So if you want to spend that $500,000 or the $1 million, make sure you're answering the call, playing a really good game of tennis. There's nothing worse than non-responsiveness from a good buyer. They may just be busy, but just really try in the eye of that transaction to be right on the ball. And you would be surprised as a real estate agent. Like, you actually, I think if you can just be as snappy as possible, it's super, super important. So I know people have got work and at the moment they're busy, but it doesn't do well with the relationship with the vendor when you're in a negotiation. The buyer, goes off grid. So just what it's like? It's like tennis. If someone's playing an aggro game of tennis, you play an aggro game of tennis. If someone's playing a soft game of tennis, you play a soft game of tennis. Play an equal game with communication.
I always like it when you throw in the tennis analogies, Mark. Throw in the kitchen sink.
You are.
Throw in the kitchen sink. We don't mean literally throw in the kitchen sink, but figuratively, what can you do? There are more things than price, than days for settlement, than can be included into a negotiation. You can throw in any other thing that you think of that can be used as part of your arsenal when you're negotiating, but people often underestimate that it's singular, it's just price. There are a lot of other things going on.
Yeah, give it your best shot, hey. Like, don't leave. How many times it's that one got away property that I think if there's more gas in your tank, give it all you got. Give it your best shot. Throw in the kitchen sink, and look at all different aspects of the purchase. So, very, very important.
Yep.
Yeah. Have you got belly to belly, man, or is that coming? That's coming, eh?
I can make it come. I'll make it.
Okay,
belly to belly.
There it is. So,
go for it.
Yeah, belly to belly. Just get, and I've said this all the time. Like, get across from the agent. So, if you're going to be making your first offer, a bit hard with COVID at the moment, but if you're going to make your first offer, try to do it in the raw, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly with the agent there. Always have, really, really try that out, because I think there's a beautiful thing in communication. And when you're communicating an offer, that offer is your money. It's you. It's going to be your home. There's going to be terms associated with it. I think there's nothing more nicer to deliver that to your real estate agent in the raw. So in COVID, that's going to have to be on an appointment looking at the property. And I think they can convey that to the owner beautifully. Do you know what I mean? They're going to have a good old-fashioned chat all about you and your offer and the way it was presented, rather than submit an offer by SMS. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so much more depth that you can get out of the conversation, the relationship, the information that you give and receive. So yeah, that's probably one of the biggest ones I'd say across the board. They all help in their own ways, but that's going to help to give you probably the most concise information back at the end of the day, getting face to face, understanding, reading body language, things like that at the time.
I think also on that, James, it's most in an active negotiation. Something like this, you may only negotiate a couple of times.
Yeah.
Don't hear in the negotiation. It's what the agent doesn't say in the negotiation. So what I actually think is it's very hard in an email or in an SMS to understand those dimensions of a negotiation. So if you are in the groove of submitting your offers by email only or submitting your offers by SMS only, I suggest you don't do that, and you get down and get dirty and get belly to belly, and make sure it's all done.
Yeah. Cover all bases.
Email.
Cover all bases. And that comes back down to the classic sign a contract, bring the check to the office, make it solid, make it physical. It happens, but not as much through COVID.
That's a good one. Put a check under their nose. Love that. Whether it's a deposit for a rental, whether it's a deposit for a sale, it's completely refundable until you sign a lease or a contract. So a check under the nose is a beautiful looking thing.
Don't be a property snob. Maybe there are times where it's easier to be a bit of a property snob. You have every right to be able to take your time with your decision making. It is probably one of the biggest decisions you'll make in your life. You probably won't make that decision many more times. Maybe in a different marketplace where there's a lot of stock and you've got a lot of freedom of choice, you've got a little bit more ability to have or turn your nose up at things. In a market like today, you really don't have that luxury. If you're looking to get into the market, sometimes you just have to bite the bullet a little bit, not in a negative way, but it might not be perfect. We often say to people that if you're trying to check 10 out of 10 boxes, you're never going to buy a property. You're never going to find one you like. You've got to be able to compromise on a couple of things, check 6 or 7 of the boxes. You're doing pretty damn well anyway. Any more than that, to a point where you're turning properties away because of 1 or 2 little things, whatever it might be, you're kicking yourself in the foot. So yeah, I think that's my interpretation of being a property snob, Mark, depending on the marketplace you're in. Don't know if you think any differently.
Well, what's expensive today is cheap tomorrow. And the property market's proved that long-term, short-term, mid-term, whatever term. So I think that sometimes people are brown-nosing properties, saying, nah, look, I'm not really going to pay that. Don't really want to pay that. Nah, not easy. I can do better. But, some of these property prices have changed 50 to 100 grand in such a short time. So if you brown-nose something or a bit of a snob about something, you could get screwed, particularly if it's overpriced. So I would just get in there and, be a snob. And even don't be a snob is another one around don't be a snob is you can rent it. So you may find that you cannot find the dream 2 better. Buy the dream 1 better. Make it an investment property. Go and rent it. Dream 2 better.
Yep. There's a lot of different ways about it, like that rent investment kind of style.
Yep.
Back to the third parties. Is your broker tenacious?
That's so important lately.
Like, brokers are often referred to, well, maybe not all brokers, maybe just the brokers we know. They're often referred to as magicians. They work wonders. They make miracles happen. If they're looking out for you and they've got your best interests at heart, they know the situation, they know the context, all of those little moving parts, are they actually going to be able to facilitate the deal to get it over the line? And Mark, you made some interesting points, like just asking the right questions, framing things up in the correct way to a point where it leads you down the right route that you're looking for, or the outcome of, their client. I'm sure not all brokers have got that ability to do so, but when you have a good broker on your side, just like a good solicitor, you just streamline the whole process, if I'm not mistaken. You just make life a lot easier for yourself, because they do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, don't they?
Massive, massive, massive. And tonight, if you just tuned in, we're talking about the tips and tricks to securing a property rental or sales. But, basically, these guys are, if you get, and the agent will happily refer one to you. These guys, you can get no money, 50 grand, 100 grand, 150 grand, or just get the money that you want. That is massive. So these brokers are tenacious one. They've got to be hungry, and they will move mountains for you. And boy, do we see that happen all the time, because people come to us, they can't make the deal happen over dollars. We put them in contact with a good broker, and bang, the deals happen. And they're like, how good is that? So, yeah, they've got to be hungry, dude.
Talk tough, but not rough. Struggling with this a little bit. Talk tough, but not rough. What does that mean in the eyes of a prospective purchaser, prospective tenant, whatever they may be, back to the agent? Is it a tonality? Is it what you say?
It's all of those things, eh? It's all of those things. So when you're negotiating on a property to purchase, you've got to be firm. You can't be wafer thin and in and out and in and out. You've got to be super strong. So I think tough, going hard. The agent doesn't know if you're a pro or if you're new at this business of making offers, but certainly move strong, sign a contract, put a check with it, make sure you've got a good solicitor, make sure you've got a good family and friends around you supporting you through it, going hard. But don't pulverise the agent or the seller or the property, sandbag or what do you reckon?
Yeah, particularly when you said about the property itself there, you're trying to purchase someone's prized possession off them, and then you're coming saying, this is rubbish, that's not what I want, but I still want to make an offer on the property to buy it off you. You're not really going to be entering into the negotiations, even if it's on price. Sometimes out of principle, they might just say, you know what, that person, they weren't the buyer. Sorry. There's a way to make out. Maybe you can put some of those things behind the wraps a little bit. They don't need to be vocal to the agent who's going to report that back to the vendor. Have those conversations behind closed doors. Sure, do what you want behind closed doors. But yeah, sandbagging a property, I think that one resonated a lot, because you hear it and then the vendors are like, "What? I love everything about this property. It's mine. I've been here." Anyway, that's an interesting one, I think. Mark, I reckon the last one.
What about asking if the agent's single? Like, for instance, you can get married as well and meet your life partner. So, James, you're a bachelor, and you're available. So, if any ladies that are out at meeting James at open houses, if you want to get married, just ask James.
Yeah, that's all you have to do. Apparently, just ask the question.
Ask if the agent's single if you are.
It's a good point. Again, it's mediating.
What do you reckon?
It's mediating conversations that lead you into something a little bit more, and it could be purely to have a better conversation about the property. Maybe they start replying a little bit faster to you.
Yeah,
it's true. Last one, I think for the night, Mark.
Yes.
Understand that it's not just all about the money. It's not all about the dollars and cents. We've obviously gone through a lot of this tonight, but terms, when you're negotiating, it's not dollars and cents. It might be time, might be the most important thing. There's a sale that just went through in the office this week where we're not allowed to give definitive timelines over must be sold in X, but we can, again, create more urgency around the property, around the scenario. There are different things that mean more to some people than others. I'm making that a bit more long-winded. Time, money, terms, what else you can throw in? What other things can you do that are, taking the spade away from the dollar sign?
Look, in rentals, you can pay up front for 12 months or 6 months. That's a big one. You can
Yep.
pay more than what the asking price is for the property. You can offer solidness in the deal where you've
Yep.
got a signed contract, check, and no cooling off period. Um, you can ask if the owner wants to stay in the property for longer because they haven't found anywhere to buy. You can ask if the owner wants to rent the property from you so they can take the cash and have the money in their whole little pocket and they don't have to move out in haste.
The rent back, particularly in today's market, has been quite a. It's becoming more apparent. I think there's been a few deals of rent backs done in the last couple of weeks. It just adds another cushion maybe for one side to have a little bit of extra time to work what they need to do out. So again, culminating all of those points, if you're not having these conversations with your agent, you don't know what the things that are more important to the owner are. It could be that, they're looking to find a property and they need somewhere in the short term rather than finding a rent or being able to lease their own property back to the purchasers after settlement. That's huge. In fact, there's been, I think, 4 or 5 of those in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks, which don't know about your experience, but hadn't seen too many of those in the last couple of years. The terms that the vendors want aren't always what you think.
Absolutely.
Oh, I do have one more. Don't leave the agent's office. Get an answer, demand an answer, have the conversation with the vendor. You can push these things. You are holding power in this in the deal.
Yeah, it shits me when a buyer gives me a deadline. It's like, that's just like, seriously, they got till 5 o'clock or the offer's going to explode in your face. It's more just, look, we're actually we found something we need to buy. Do you reckon you can actually raise the owners like in the next hour or so? What's the ETA? You can come back to me. The agent will tell you. Oh, look, the owner's pretty easy contact. Should be able to come back to you next hour or so, next 10 minutes. But going into the office is pretty cool because you can say, not only you're submitting your offer bell to bell, but you can sit there. So we had one where the owner wanted the property sold within a week. Sorry, within a day. They wanted it settled within a week. It could only sell to a cash buyer, and the seller was a cash seller, so they could do it in a week. There was no bank intervention. Yeah. Now, that buyer planted her bum on the seat and didn't move until all terms were negotiated in the contract. Lawyer was appointed, taken down a license, paid the 10% check, signed the contract. Lawyers spoke to each other, didn't move, hours. And I thought that was key to securing the property, like just there, front and center.
That was the successful buyer in the end, Mark?
Of course. It's anyway I roll.
Solid. Another one with that timeline is that buyers particularly, you don't hear that too often, but when they say, I'm going to an auction tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., I need to hear back by 5 p.m. tonight, otherwise I'm going to buy this property tomorrow. Like, it's tough. I know what you mean about a moment ago, because it does put like that extra level of urgency on it when we're supposed to be putting the urgency across. But it gets all parties more emotionally involved in the process. It gives them a bit more of a finite timeline. So again, it comes back to being an educated purchaser. Whether or not it's a ploy, it's a good tactic to include. So again, part of your strategy. If you can include any of these little tips, I think there's a couple little things that should be able to help the old everyday purchaser in the market at the moment, Mark.
And not all tips will be great tonight, but some will resonate with you. Run with those ones. And you know what? We are a free service for a buyer. If you want advice, we would love to help you. So if you want advice and the property is not through us, in Beacon Hill, in Oxford Falls Road on the weekend, and a lovely young lady, and I've been jogging her in the last couple of weeks through the properties that she's missed and that she likes and she doesn't like, and RP data and stuff like that. You know what? I don't make a cent out of it, but I really find it rewarding as a human So, always feel free once you connect with that agent, call them, ask them for advice. We are here for you guys.
Yep. That's the thing people underestimate. It's free of charge. We want to help. We want to have these conversations. People think there's always a catch, but there's not. Anyway. Yeah, hopefully that's helpful for a couple of people out there. Take one thing from tonight, and I think we'll have done a little bit of good, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you, James, for your calm, soothing approach from England, the motherland.
And then, because you did that, I just...
So if anyone wonders if James is a fake or a phony, he's a fake. He's not really from England.
I'm a fake. Yeah, it's a bit